Let this video be a meditation on the topic of authenticity and inauthenticity and some very important implications thereof. Authenticity is a buzzword used in social media and probably other places, but rarely something people live by. It's even difficult for those who set out to live authentically to figure out how to do so. By the time they realize that they'd like to know how to do so, or that it's important, that it's a grand cause, it's very difficult to figure out how to do so because of the way they've had to live up to that point. So before going any further, understand that whatever words are shared here, it's not to condemn anyone. It's not to guilt or fear trip anyone. That's not what this is at all. That's all unproductive nonsense. It's a massive issue. And today I'd like to share some of the implications people probably don't think about or realize and help you make some connections in life, because I believe that this kind of knowledge is personal power for you. So when you come into this world, to various degrees, depending on where you're born, what the cultural situation, what the family situation, or maybe you don't even have a family, whatever the situation is that you're growing up in, you are in a world that is upside down to spiritual truth. It's like an upside down synthetic reflection of real things. It's a great test for the spirit. It's great weightlifting for the soul. But it's all very, very inauthentic. What you call society, what I call the world. I don't mean the natural world. I mean, when I use the word world, the world, I'm talking about what man calls the world. For example, when you hear there's a movie or a book or a video or an idea about the end of the world, what are people really talking about? They're not talking about the end of this planet. They're talking about the end of their personal false reality, society, or Babylon. So, from a young age, in order to survive, and this is not your fault, this is not the fault of those who were conditioned to it before you. It's very unfortunate in a sense, but again, this is not about blame or finger pointing or anything like that. This is about healing. This is about awareness. This is about handing people things they need to deal with their own so-called problems and convert them all into opportunities in life. So you're conditioned at a young age in order to survive around whoever you're dependent on, and you are, to be however inauthentic you have to be to survive. This affects everyone on this planet to some degree, except perhaps some undiscovered group living in a jungle somewhere, which there are a few still, fortunately. And hopefully, well, anyway, before I diverge, basically anyone and everyone you've ever known has been heavily affected by this to varying degrees. And then you're conditioned into a world where it just continues on. Children go to school, they learn how to defy their nature, their energy, and cooperate with things that are very unnatural so they can be conditioned to be functional worker slaves or basically cooperative prisoners, which are their options in society. The way school is structured, and again, I'm not saying it's your fault if, say, you're a teacher or anything else. Please don't let your ego confuse here. That's not what this is about. But the way these things are structured is super inauthentic to the actual biological, natural, spiritual, living truth that a person is. And then it rolls out into relationships and careers and these other categories people put life into. And in each category, you have sort of synthetic shadows of something real that only those who deeply ever seek find the real version of and understand what the shadow was imitating and keeping people trapped in. One of the implications, a few implications that are really important to understand if you want to, um, one would be some effects on your health, and one would be effects on what you call relationships. Let's start with the relationship one for a second. A lot of people are troubled um, about relationships, how hard it is, somebody betrayed me, or I did something wrong, or it didn't work out, or the love wasn't real, it was transactional, which isn't love at all. Because conditional love isn't love. That's not what it is. It's just a shadow. It's just an illusion. It's a lie. It's something non real. It's a problem created from something untrue and therefore unreal. People suffer from these things and remain baffled and confused and struggling. Here's a connection. Because you've been conditioned to be inauthentic in order to survive from a young age, you carry that pattern with you into adolescence, adulthood, and whatever else. And every time you've been inauthentic, you express something that was not your actual authentic truth. Not only are you putting out a frequency that's not authentic to you and therefore cannot attract to you what's actually right for you, you also defy the truth of your own body. Your nervous system, which was formed under inauthentic conditions and already has plenty of built in malfunctions because of it, is repeatedly being violated by non truth, by you saying what you feel you have to, or doing what you're pressured into, or unfortunately need to do to survive and navigate the society, the world, the Babylon that you're trapped in. Unless you're not. But the vast majority are. So the body is built from truth. And every time you have to violate that truth by speaking something or doing something that's not actually true, it damages something. It puts a false program in the nervous system, and the nervous system coordinates the immune system, circulation, body energy and rebuilding processes, um, everything, organs, glands, hormone systems, all of it. The nervous system is the high flying, high vibrational energy, and what's going on with the nervous system trickles down to everything else. So eventually, of course, this manifests in disease. Um, there's obvious things to some, like if you've had to suppress speaking your truth, or you've been violated or mistreated when you do enough times, you can easily manifest problems with the thyroid or that area. But remember, that gland communicates with all the others. So if one gland is being violated, it may not be the one that fails at some point or gets a disease, but the effect it's now having with its inauthentic vibration of dysfunction is discoordinating other glands and systems in the body. And whatever the weakest link is, or the most imbalanced area, manifests disease at some point. I guess I got into talking about health. Let's go back to relationship for a second. When people say it's so impossible to have a good relationship, now try to understand that when the foundation of the relationship is built from something non authentic, because that's the only way you know how to live, it's the only way you've been taught to live, it's how you learned to live, it's how you survived your childhood, it's how you even made it to adulthood or adolescence and even started dabbling with having a relationship or whatever. You cannot manifest something real from something not real. You cannot manifest something authentic from something inauthentic. You can't. So you're now manifesting inauthenticity, which is like a shadow. It's like a lie for something real. It's like a fake picture. And people try so hard to make it work. Some do, some give up easy. It doesn't matter either way because it can't work. You can't build a real relationship out of something inauthentic. So when you're in the habit or the conditioning, which is worldwide, of expressing inauthenticity because it's what works socially or it's what works in Babylon, Maybe it's why you're able to have a job. Maybe it's why you're able to get by in society. Maybe it's why you're not locked up or thrown away, or even worse in some cases, for being authentic. But it's also why you can't have a functional relationship. Starting with yourself, you lose contact with your heart, and your mind strays further and further from the truth of your own body. And your body is filled with cells that listen to your consciousness and take all their cues from your consciousness. If you want to see a supersonic upside of that, you might want to reference my video about that, about programming your own DNA through your own consciousness, being a cell whisperer. Anything you discover that's being used very dysfunctionally in this world, you can actually flip it around and use it very functionally. Once you realize you're just looking at the dark, shadowy side of the coin, you can go to the other side of the coin where the light shines bright and is filled with life and truth and creativity and authenticity. In other words, the things you look at that are the biggest problems are your roadmap directly to the biggest opportunities. If you can hold that truth and use it, you'll find it's true and profoundly transformational for your entire life. So relationships are being manifested out of inauthenticity. So it isn't authentic love. People are not an actual authentic partnership for each other. And it causes harm and damage, and sometimes there's self-blame or blame of the other or unforgiveness, and then the spiral of darkness and spiritual ignorance just gets worse, and it gets much harder to see any of these things and do anything about it as you spiral downward into the metaphorical blindness that comes from these things. Now, as someone who has gone to great lengths and gone through a great deal of tremendously difficult things to get to a point finally where he can actually express himself authentically, I have found for sure that when you discover and learn to accurately, and I do mean accurately, honor your own inner authenticity, you will actually draw to yourself authentic relationships and other authentic things in life, authentic opportunities. Whereas when you're in society, when you're in Babylon, which is really the best word for it, I agree with the Rastafarians. Turns out they've been using that word for a long time. I came to the same word. When you're in Babylon, Mystery Babylon, and you're doing all the things that you have to do to survive and supposedly thrive there, which many of you know you're not because you're not completely sold out to it. And that comes down to the difference between doing things that are inauthentic because you're pressured into it in order to survive and get by in Mystery Babylon versus those who literally on purpose become very deceptive. Now, they lose their spiritual truth. They become ignorant and blind also, and they also rack up damage to their own body, of course, because their body was built from truth just like everyone else's. But the difference is, of course, they're doing it willfully on purpose, which has different sort of karmic, if you will, implications, versus the many of you who simply can't figure out how to live authentically because you never got to from your youngest conditioning. And this is rampant. This is worldwide. Yes, I'm talking to you, okay? Talking to all of us. This is the world we were born in. This is what we came into. We came into a shadow projection, sort of upside down, inside out synthetic version of everything. So it won't work for relationships. What are some other implications? It destroys the body because the body's DNA structure, and the only way the light of truth and life can flow through it and replicate cells properly is through authentic flow of energy. And once that's out of authentic flow, there are blockage points, there are overload points, there are starved points. The energy is not distributed properly. Okay, for those that would, kind of take a right brain view of it, just picture it that way. It's very simple. But the implications, of course, are profound, like so many simple things. So, also, let's talk about like the concept of career. People are going into what they call careers because they think they have to. That's what Babylon told you. Pick a good career, or you'll just always be poor and struggling with remedial tasks, or you'll be a desperate homeless criminal, or whatever. All these narratives that pressure you into the career idea, or some other way to make good money, right? Because the artificial concept of money is the only thing you have in Babylon. Most of you have no access to anything that's actually alive, where life comes from. You're so divorced for it, you don't even realize there's none around you. If you look around me right now, this is not some AI fake version of it. This is life. There is medicine for every single condition all around me that you can even see on your screen right now that people are completely ignorant and blind to. There's every kind of food necessary. There's every kind of high vitality, and none of it lies. It's all real. In Babylon, you don't have that. You live in plastic and concrete and fake food, and the consciousness traded around is the same thing. It's all completely artificial. So if people, are struggling and wondering why relationships don't work and why careers are unfulfilling and soul draining, that's why. None of it is authentic. None of it is what you actually are. None of it. Some of you, I'm already barking up your tree, and you know it well because you've tried to express yourselves authentically, and you've been just butchered or crucified for it, metaphorically, or in some cases literally. I mean, you've been attacked. People have tried to kill you for it. Maybe you're a ghost because they did kill you for it. I mean, these things are real. Um, very real. The sadisticness of the ignorant spiritual darkness and its distortion creates truly awful monster thought forms that will maul you and chew you up and spit you out just for being authentic in a world that's now allergic to it. And the structure of Babylon is made out of synthetic things. It is allergic to authenticity, and it attacks it with a false immune response. Babylon is one gigantic autoimmune disease for this reason. This is reflected in your bodies. Autoimmune diseases. Why would your own immune system that's supposed to protect you be killing you and eating you, and creating fires and inflammation and burning you up, and breaking you down, destroying your cartilage, destroying your organs, destroying your brain and nerves? Why? Because it's so far from being able to operate according to authenticity, it's now destroying itself. Okay? Just like the society or the Babylon you're in. The micro and the macro reflect each other. Relationships are doing this. People that were looking for love end up just creating pain and suffering for each other, for themselves, and not understanding why. This is why. So, again, as someone who's gone to incredible lengths to have an authentic life, and the healing thereof, and the empowerment and the freedom, I will tell you that giving up your own life in order to discover it, the spiritual principle Yeshua was talking about, it's very real. I've had to give up several lives to be here, several. Some of them, it was really, really brutally painful. Okay. Now that I'm not trying to scare you, because that's not necessarily the case for each of you and all of you. Not everyone has as many hard aspects, internal conflicts, and snags as the other. And if you do, you'll have the strength anyway. If if you're truly going to honor the divine within you, which is your inner authenticity. And the divine is many things. It's creativity. It's many things. It's beyond defining. It's so many great things. But this is one of them. Authenticity. If you want your cellular structure to function right, your cells need to function authentically. If you want to manifest a relationship with someone who isn't some weird external mental list of things that isn't going to work, and is an actual authentic relationship for you, for both of you to help each other grow, it's going to have to come from somewhere authentic. It's not going to come from a mental strategy, which is what you've all been sold on. I can't believe the horrendous, cringy things I see as relationship advice. A mental strategy. So let me get this right. We're already divorced from our body, which is now destroying itself. We're living in a society that's all shadows and lies, that's destroying itself. And way up in that mental echo chamber of insanity, disconnected from all truth, we're going to come up with a list of traits that we want someone else to be, which has zero authenticity, and there would be no growth in it, and be a complete failure if you manifested it, which you probably will if you stick to that. In fact, pretty soon, most of you will have the option to just pick the way someone looks and program them to be that extension of your currently blind ego and just have a synthetic mate, a synthetic AI thing to have a relationship with. So now you have an inauthentic relationship with something that isn't even alive because your mental construct thinks that's the solution to this. This is madness within madness beyond madness. It creates an incredible amount of sadness covered up by anger and rage and desperation all around you. This is why things are on fire, inside your body and out. Now, how someone could be truly authentic from within Babylon, I don't know, unless they're ready to be a martyr. I couldn't see a way how personally, that's why I left it, to create an authentic reality, which is not easy and not quick and not in your comfort zone and not any of the things you were trained to be or do or believe. It's a completely uncharted path, and the only way it can be done is through full authenticity. And that authenticity wouldn't be there without faith. It'd be unsustainable. But how can you have faith in something real when your inauthentic view of reality doesn't even give you access to that? So now we're getting back to root philosophy of life, or maybe I need more shocking terms so people will hear it. What you believe is your reality. Your faith is your life, to simplify it into profound words that probably can't be heard. And you might say, well, I'm not religious, so I don't have faith, so you're wrong. No, it's not true. Everyone believes in something. In astrology, everyone has a Jupiter in their chart, which means everyone believes in something. And what you believe is controlling your reality. When you grow up inside Babylon, how is it you're supposed to believe something authentic when you haven't seen any or been shown any? Only those who truly, truly seek will find what I'm talking about here. And that's some of you. Some of you on this channel humble me with how authentic and real you actually are, you're striving to be in a system that's fully against you, a world system that's fully against you on that, and fully against you in many ways. So I want to encourage you, but I also I don't want to deceive you by making you think that you can just start being authentic today and everything's going to be okay. Yeshua said, be as wise as serpents and as innocent as doves, or as shrewd as serpents and innocent as doves. You could use either word. Neither of those English words translates fully correctly from the original Aramaic, as is the problem with much of the Bible that is misused as a weapon. But anyway, along those lines, shrewdness, wisdom of a serpent, innocence of a dove. This means that if you don't understand the deceptiveness and the strategies of the darkness around you, your innocence can get your life ended very quickly. And you'll be given great reward in heaven in your eternal state. So it's not that the stakes are as high as you think. But if you would choose to live longer and bear more fruit into this world of darkness and blindness, you're going to need some wisdom and shrewdness. I spent so much of my life hiding most of what I am because people around me didn't want it, that I was warned repetitively in lucid dreams that I would die of some kind of cancer starting in the throat chakra area if I didn't start finding a way to authentically express myself. So I went to social media. I got canceled many times for knowing things you're not supposed to know. I got cancel cultured for being too expressive and a threat perceived by others who I was fully supportive of, but they couldn't understand that. I had a lot of experiences and I made plenty of mistakes along the way. And that's something else I want to tell you. When you've never been allowed to be authentic in your life, you're not going to be perfect at it when you first try, okay? You'll get some authenticity, but it'll still be mixed up with your own misconceptions about yourself and reality. You don't get to just skip to something with no mistakes. And people, I bring this up because people in society in Babylon have this massive hang up where they're terrified to try anything because they're so afraid to make a mistake. Because the world will use shame and blame and take advantage of you when you do make a so called mistake. And everybody knows this. Many have participated in this very destructive, inauthentic activity. And in doing so, you now have a shadow looming over you, waiting to give back to you what you've done to others. When you hurt them somehow for a perceived mistake they made, or you judge them, even if you said nothing outwardly, every time you've judged someone else's mistake, you've created a larger and larger shadow behind you that makes it harder for you to ever do anything authentic. Because when you make a mistake, here it comes. But the truth is, you're going to have to process this and pass through it with wisdom and perseverance and faith and courage in order to get to a point where you can bear any authentic fruit in life. Now, what that process is for you, I can never say. Everyone's a completely unique individual with completely unique arrangement of energy, starting point in life, trajectory, interferences coming from unique angles in unique forms. There is no way to lay out some stupid cookie cutter 5-step path to any of this. You guys are used to being sold things like that, but that's all in the echo chamber of the tiny fraction of left brain humanity stuck in, just mentally masturbating in circles and being sold ideas that are useless and taken advantage of and taking advantage of each other. And again, being inauthentic, creating diseases within themselves when they entertain these inauthentic things and when they use them to profit from the lack of clarity that others have. So, as you can see, it's a convoluted, challenging landscape for sure. There is nothing authentic about Babylon. Nothing. That's why it says the few that are called out to leave Babylon, leave her behind. Leave that great harlot behind and go into the desert, metaphorically, or whatever it takes. In my case, the jungle. But we are talking metaphors and symbols here. And I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one who's been through harsh enough things that are so anti who they really are that it made it impossible for them not to pursue authentically who they actually are. Some of you may need to hit certain versions of what you'd call rock bottom and visit some level of hell before you become more clear on just how necessary it is to move into the light of what you actually are. If you're comfortable or you think you're comfortable currently living in an inauthentic reality, you're probably nowhere near ready to use any of this wisely. And you may sleep through your life and never discover any authenticity, as is common. Those that easily comply with the so-called authorities of this world live the life of a slave in one form or another, and some of them find slavery in the particular form they were handed comfortable enough that they're able to just sort of go to sleep and live and die inauthentically full of dysfunctions they never even recognize, rob them of so much great potential for what life could have been. But if you're not comfortable with it, and you can tell you're not really going to be able to live through it long term, because there is so much authentically needing expression, it really is on you to find a way to it. And you can only do this with faith, with trust, with tapping into the Creator within you, not all the false ones on the outside that will put you right back into an inauthentic box, using fear, using bribery, using whatever they use. They'll use anything. They have no shame, but they'll give you plenty. If you look for any of it externally, the best you might do is find a road sign of truth like you're being given right now. But even that's very, very rare. Right now, at best, I might confirm what some of you already know deep inside. And that means that neither one of us is being an individual in that moment. We're just flowing within the greater spirit of truth that is the source of all life. After all, you do exist within it. Babylon does everything it can to make sure you never know that, but it's the truth. It'll always be the truth. It always was the truth. No matter what the world does to lie and scheme and plot and convince you that somebody's winning something, you cannot do anything inauthentic without a consequence. Cellular consequence, relationship consequence, mental, emotional consequences, spiritual consequences, every kind of consequences. So if you're still awake enough, you're still conscious and kicking, and you haven't just gone to sleep in the matrix tube to be a battery complacently because blue pill is more comfort than facing reality. And that's really what it comes down to. The blue pill is just the choice to give in to the authorities of the world and live an inauthentic life as an energy source for things that you don't even want to know about. You just go along with it and sleep through your life with basic fake comforts given to you in Babylon. Or you're on fire inside and you can't take it, and it'll destroy you because you're fighting with the inauthenticity. If you have that sort of inner spiritual warrior and you know you're not going to be able to just go to sleep and live and die how you're told to without feeling or thinking much about it, you got to get on this somehow. Like I say, I can't tell you what your exact path is. I could tell you some things about mine, and from time to time I do. But I'm outside Babylon, sending messages into it, into the matrix to see who can hear them. I'm being an oracle, okay? Inside of you is the authentic code to the great thing, the great divine, bear greater fruit than I thing that you really are. If Yeshua said you can bear greater fruit than him, obviously the one they call Jesus believed in us a lot more than we do, and a lot more than those who crucified, tortured, and murdered and made a false religion out of him do. Or maybe they do believe in you, and that's why they've tried so hard to make sure you don't know this and can't find this. They're obviously scared of something. Again, guys, anytime you see the darkness, the counterfeit makes such great effort to stop you from something, it's because there's something incredibly powerfully wonderful and awesome they're trying to block you from finding and being. This is always the case. Once you recognize this pattern and apply wisdom to it, make a few personal victories spiritually, you start looking around and seeing that it is everything they call society. Mystery Babylon, it's all synthetic. It's all a lie. 99.99% of the things you think are problems are not even real. The only reason they're real is because you lend your belief, you lend your mind and body to them and believe them and entertain them. And then they become real, but they're still a false reality. The real you doesn't have any of those problems. The real, actual, authentic, spiritual, eternal you has none of these problems. However, living in an inauthentic control system gives you the experience of every kind of problem, and it gives everyone else the experience of every kind of problem. Some embrace that, become the darkness, and take advantage of it, but they can't lie to their biology and they can't lie to their spirit either. By violating you, they're violating themselves. Some of you go along with it out of some sort of misguided sense of kindness and loyalty, which is honorable but sad. This is the doves lacking the serpents. This is the innocence factor being taken advantage of in humanity, and the lack of the shrewdness and wisdom of the serpent in order to not be taken advantage of. You need to understand how the serpent works. You need to understand what's eating you in order to not be eaten by it, and in order to not become it, if you so choose. But this all ties into the actual theme of authenticity, not the clickbait buzzword that a bunch of totally unauthentic garbage is taking advantage of now. Just like all kinds of things that claim to be love because you're looking for it, and then they give you something else, a counterfeit. Same with the authenticity. Anything in Babylon, anything run by Babylon, anything in the energy of Babylon or the world of men, so called, even though it's totally non human and therefore shouldn't be called the world of men, but ironically, of course, it calls itself that. They never give you what's real. It's all a counterfeit. You, the real you, is completely authentic and is the light unto this world. But to bear any fruit, you're going to have to find that, embrace it, honor it, and become it. Become what you already were. Unbecome all the things you're really not that you think you are now. And then bear light unto a world of darkness. And yes, it's a profoundly rewarding thing. It's what your soul and spirit really want and don't know how to go about finding because you've been given a completely false context. You've been given false science. You've been given false spirituality. You've been given a false starting point in complete programming and brainwashing and emotional blockages you've been corralled into before you were even old enough to talk. This is the weight of the world. This is the energy of it. You've been existing in complete, pure, utter, unadulterated inauthenticity. So it ain't a buzzword, guys. That's just more money being made off the ignorance of others. It's not a buzzword. It's the greatest potential rite of passage for your life. And what that's going to look like and where it's going to lead for you, who knows? What it's even going to look like for me moving forward, we'll see. But without it, it really is just a blue pill life where you buried your coin and gave up and bared no fruit because it was too hard and scary and too many false gods told you not to. And did everything they could to stop you. And you didn't know that your authenticity was so powerful. That's the reason Babylon's set up this way. Stop you from ever finding it. Without authenticity, you have no real creativity. Without creativity, there's no creative solutions to the things being called problems that you're trained all day to focus on. More and more, the problems, I'm the problem, you're the problem, they're the problem, so many problems. Every single one of them is a profound opportunity. But you're being shown only the dark side of the coin and told that's what's right and true. In the darkness, in the ignorance, blocking the light of the Creator from flowing through you. An inauthentic reality is that. It's the eclipse. It's living in the eclipse instead of the light. If you get to the other side of that coin, the creative solutions for the so-called problems are infinite. And you might even start to feel guilty that it's so awesome that there are all these so-called problems because they're simply platforms for authentic creative expression that is excellent and can take this species. Ooh, the sky is falling, Chicken Little. Hope you guys heard that. But anyway, that's what can take the species to a golden age, a utopian age. Something you can't yet visualize. You have to walk it out. You have to start with authenticity and draw it to you. We have to be authentic enough to draw ourselves to it and draw it to us. What is it? An authentic golden age where human beings are the lit lanterns in the temples of the living God. And humanity evolves spontaneously in ways that currently you're being given false, idiotic, synthetic versions of. For example, the idea that you can put a bunch of computer chips in people and then they'll be able to just communicate with each other telepathically or something. When all that's going to happen is you're going to be hacked and controlled from the outside by corrupt forces when you allow this to happen. Just like modern vehicles that have computers in them that the government can shut down and lock your doors and arrest you somewhere because you voted wrong or didn't buy the right thing. And not only the government, you don't think that other criminal organizations are going to get their hands on that? And your vehicle's just going to be stopped on a back road somewhere and you're going to be jumped by gorillas or something? It's going to be used in every wrong way. All along, the organic technology existed within you to get to a point where we are also authentic that once lies and deception are no longer part of our reality, we will all have direct communication with each other without even having to say a word. And we won't even have the limits of words. I'm giving you guys one example of what a golden age would be. You want to move beyond the frustrations of miscommunication? All that it takes is for everyone to authentically be who they actually are spiritually. Then we don't need those limits anymore. And I could list a whole bunch of other superhero sounding stuff that's possible for us, but just start with that one. Try to understand what I just said. The reason we still have words and popping and clicking noises and practically caveman level communication is because people are living inauthentically. When it gets to the point where we're not hiding things from each other, there's no need for deception because you understand what it means to love God with all you are and your neighbor as yourself. Therefore, there's nothing to hide. There's nothing shameful. There's no lies. There's no deceptions. There's no need for secrets. Nobody's got any need for judgments or shadows or any of it anymore. Our form of communication would be completely direct. You would know exactly everything I'm trying to explain right now without me even trying. And you wouldn't need me to explain it because you'd already know it anyway. Now try to imagine what a species like that is capable of. Instead, in Babylon, you're being given the synthetic version of it, just like you are everything. Oh, yeah, put a computer chip in your head. That'll help. Give yourself bionic arms that somebody else owns, some corporation, that control your body and mind from the outside. The beast does not give gifts, friends. It gives chains of darkness made to look like something you're looking for, the authentic version of that you've forgotten about. And so you're tricked into the synthetic version. You're tricked into the lie. This is how the world got the way it is. This has been going on for a very long time. Former civilizations have collapsed under the weight of this, and they had better technology than what you have now by far. The only solutions are spiritual. The only solutions are actual consciousness, actual, authentic, real life. It's blatant and it's 180 degrees off, and it's the world you're living in. That's why it's so hard to be authentic. That's why even those that you think love you, and maybe they even do somewhat, will attack you like an autoimmune disease for being authentic because of the way they're programmed. It is what it is, guys, and it's profoundly heavy. There's a special collection of people on this channel. And so for you guys, I do my best with human words, and some of you can probably pick it up what's really going on here, what it really means at a deeper level than that, based on what current level of authenticity you're flowing from in your own consciousness. All right, there it is. The feedback is appreciated. Let me know how I did from your own perspective currently. I know full well some of you have the eyes to see and the ears to hear. And you're not alone. Even if you're in Babylon, you're not alone. Babylon, the whole entire thing is a gigantic illusion. It's all a lie, and it's all not real. It's all the darkness, the lack of light, the lack of life, the lack of actual energy and truth, and everything that everything comes from, the lack of God, the synthetic, broken, empty alternative. That's all it is. It's the shadow of illusion that everyone miscalls their life until they don't. The real you is the solution. That's why Babylon's going to tell you it's not and fight you on it. I'm here to tell you the truth. It saved my life, it transformed my life, and it continues to expand it. Doesn't always make it easy. But that's because when you leave the matrix, you get to face what's really there. You get to deal with the world for what it is. For those of you that prefer life over something synthetic and fake, that is what it is. I love you and I believe in you. And we need more of it. If there's going to be a mass awakening on this planet, it's not going to be because of a few voices in the wilderness. It's going to take more. And that's you. Much love.